everyone and welcome to this video. Now today I'm going to be taking a look at this album here. It is the latest one by The Who, creatively titled Who. So yes, I'll just be doing the usual thing in this video, giving a bit of background information about the album, then showing you my vinyl copy of it here, and then looking at each of the album songs in detail. But yeah, I wanted to review this album because I think it is a rather good album. It was released like a few weeks back, but I was busy with uni exams, and wanted the album to settle in a bit before doing my review of it. So this is Who's 12th album, released on the 6th of December this year. It was notably their first since 2006's The Endless Wire, and only their second album since 1982. The album is mostly the work of Pete Townsend, who was very keen to get back into the studio. He and Roger, these days, don't quite see eye to eye, so they recorded all of their contributions separately, barely meeting during the making of the album. The lineup of musicians who complemented the band on here include Pino Palladino on bass, who has toured with the group, Zach Starkey on drums, of course Ringo's son, and Tom Petty's old keyboard player Ben Montench. The album has received a mostly positive critical reception, with many saying that it's their best since their mid-70s glory years, and commercially it's performed pretty well, reaching number 3 in the UK and number 2 in America. So I'll just show you my vinyl copy of it here. The cover, firstly, not sure if you can tell, but it's designed by Peter Blake here. It is a collage of all images and references to the Who's musical past, as well as their influences. But I would say, I've just observed, it's very, very, very similar to Paul Weller's Stanley Rhodes, also designed by Peter Blake, almost a copycat kind of cover there. But no matter, it is still a good album cover though, and the back of it as well, even it's very, very similar design Stanley Rhodes, same kind of text on it and that. But yeah, that's just a weird side, the Who sort of copying Paul Weller for once there. But nice vinyl here. You get a nice inner sleeve of it, with a cool picture of Roger and Pete there, and then all of the song titles there. And then this is just on standard black vinyl. I only got the single vinyl version of this. There was a double one put out, a deluxe set, but on the other disc for that, it was literally just greatest hits, which I don't really need. I've got all of those already. It would have been nice if they put a couple of the bonus tracks which are available on Spotify onto the deluxe vinyl version, because otherwise I probably would have got it. I could just settled for the standard version here. So that is the vinyl looked at. Anyway, I will now go over each of the album songs, so I'll score each track out of 10, and then those scores will be used to give us a overall percentage marking for the album. All this music will fade, just like the edge of a blade. So the album kicks off with a song called All This Music Must Fade, which firstly I want to say what a lyric to kick off their first album in God knows how long, with the line, "I don't care, I know you're gonna hate this song." There's nothing more rebellious than that. Townsend said that the song itself is about musicians kind of stealing and borrowing from others, and how it's not a big deal. He sings or Rag Dolce sings I don't mind all the guys ripping off my song. All this sound that we share has already been played is another line as well. And overall, it is a good opener, this one here. Again, you've got nice production on it, creative backing vocals, and I just think kicks off the album in fine form. Next up is called Ball and Shade, which, no, it's not a cover of the XTC song, unfortunately, but no, this one is actually a re-recording of a Pete Townsend solo song, from a few years back. Then it was called, Guantanamo, and this was the first single from the album, and I must say when it came out, as the first single, I wasn't too taken by it, but it has grown on me a little bit. Now, lyrically, it is kind of a protest song, at the Guantanamo Bay prisoner camp, with lines such as "that pretty piece of Cuba designed to cause men pain," and I like how the song kind of sort of has different sections to it. It kind of goes from quieter piano interludes to a much more intense sections where Dolce is singing really giving it full welly with his vocals. Again, it's a strong production. I really like the quality backing vocals from Pete Townsend. It's really good. But personally, I don't feel a huge sense of connection to this song though, so I would only give it a 7 out of 10. But it's still a pretty good track there. All the shit that we did brought us a mind. Next track up could well be my favourite on the album, and it was definitely my favourite like off like the preview tracks at which they released, and this one is called I Don't Wanna Get Wise, which yeah, possibly my favourite on the album. Lyrically it's kind of a twist like on my generation, like where like it's like an older man like looking back like over his life, like he sings like all that shit that we did brought us money, I guess. It's kind of like sort of like them looking over like their sort of like the career, like sort of like the journey like off like their life, like, which I think is like quite good, like quite like a reflective song, this one here. I think the melody like on the song like is excellent. It just flows like so well, like it's much more like melodic than like most like other like Who songs, like really. And like yeah, like it's just so memorable, and like yeah, like again the backing vocals like work like really well. Like again, like you've got kind of like a vocoder part on it. It's just these nice little quirky production touches like which make this album like that bit more unique. So yeah, that one I would give the full 10 out of 10 to. Like it is the best Who song like they've done since, I would say, like You Bet You Bet. Next track up is called Detour. Now this is a little like sort of like factoid here, like was like the Detours was the original name like for like the Who, like before they became the Who, and it has this kind of like sort of like 60s kind of throwback like sound to it. It reminds me a bit of like Magic Bus, like kind of like the bluesy shuffle like rhythm like going on like in the track, like also hand claps in it as well. And like Magic Bus, it is quite repetitive, this one here, like especially like on the chorus, like, but there is quite a nice like interesting diversion like, or well, detour like during the song that we get like a slower like more like reflective bridge like in it, like which I think again works quite well. So I would give that one overall a 7 out of 10. Not a firm favourite, but possibly a grower. Life beats on one string. Next track up is called Beads on One String, and again this is another real favourite of mine. Now quite an interesting backstory with this track. It's kind of like a sort of like a demonstration like of like kind of like the collaborative powers like so like the internet like has like brought, because Pete Townsend like found like the melody to this song like uploaded to SoundCloud like by like a guy called Josh Hunsaker, and like then Pete Townsend like sort of like contacted like this guy, like asked like if he could write like some like lyrics like to his tune, and like yeah, they got this song out of it, and I think it works again so well. The title like of it comes from a phrase of like Meher Baba, like so like Pete Townsend's like spiritual guru, and yeah, again I think lyrically it's a really good track, kind of like about dealing with kind of world peace, like but not in like a cheesy like or corny way, like sort of like the kind of like that phase like that title phrase like off like the track, like again it's quite unique, and like I do really like it. Again musically reminds me of say something like Getting in Tune like from Who's Next, like which is certainly high praise indeed, but like it's really got that sort of like that killer chorus and that sort of like real sort of like anthemic feeling to it. So another track there which I would give the full 10 out of 10 to. I absolutely love that one. Next track up now, which closes off side 1 and is called Hero Ground Zero. And this is a kind of grand like orchestrated track reminiscent of moments like of Quadrophenia. It's a strong track about sort of like kind of like being like self-empowered like and stuff, and like yeah, like overall I think it's a good song. Like not too much to say about it though, like I mean like it is a good track, this one, so I would give that one also a 9 out of 10 there. Next track up, which opens up side 2 of the album, is called Street Song, which Pete Townsend said was inspired by the Grenfell Tower fire tragedy like a few years back, but like kind of like lyrically like you couldn't really tell that it's not too directly about that. Instead it's a slightly broader song about showing defiance like in the face like of a difficult situation. Again I think it's a good track. It's maybe not one of the most sort of standout moments like on the album, like but it's still not a bad track there, so I would give that one a 7 out of 10.
In this life you so bless me, why would I want to get...
Next up is called I'll Be Back, which is a Townsend lead vocal, like his only lead vocal performance on this album, and I think it's a really nice song. This is very different for The Who. It's a nice tender love song, this really, kind of like about like an aging person like sort of like singing like to like a dying partner. It's very, yeah, like I said, very different song like for like The Who. It's got a nice pleasant like string backing on it, and the middle 8th though, it's quite an adventurous song, like kind of like in some ways like the middle 8th features a kind of like vocoder rap, which doesn't fit the song like by any means. I think it sounds slightly like out of place, but it's certainly adventurous. Like you can't fault him like for sort of like wanting to experiment and push himself like with this one. Again, it also features some really good like harmonica playing, and yeah, I think overall is a really nice song. Like if it wasn't for like that wee middle rap section, like it would be up to like an 8, like or a 9, but as it is, I would give it a 7 out of 10.
I will always be the one to break the
is called Break the News, which is another favourite of mine, like on the album. And this one wasn't actually written by Pete; it was written by like another Townsend, his brother Simon. And that kind of explains why this song again is very different for the Who. It's a lot more kind of acoustic folky. This one here, kind of like it's very poppy. This one, like in some ways, a lot more catchy like as well than like most of like the other stuff like on this album. And like yeah, I just think it's a really nice song. Again, Dolce sings it like incredibly well. So I would give that one a 9 out of 10. Okay, now the penultimate song on the album is called Rockin In Rage, which is a track about sort of like not being able like to speak the truth like as like one grows older, like with lines such as "I don't think I've ever felt so out on the margin." Musically though, for me, it's a little bit generic, this one, kind of what we've come to expect like from this album, like and like the Who, and like I would say it's probably like one of the tracks like which I wouldn't go back to too much on the album. Probably like my least favourite on here. I think maybe could have been replaced like with like one or two like off like the bonus tracks, but still, Rockin' In Rage, not a bad song though. We'll give it a 6 out of 10, like slightly above average.
You hear people say she rocked my world. They don't mean.
Okay, and then the closer track on the standard version of the album is called She Rocked My World. And this one is a very interesting closer. Again, it's very different like for like the Who. Like they're really pushing the boat out like with this one. It's a kind of loungy sort of like Dolce almost sort of like croons like his way through this track here, kind of like a sort of like acoustic sort of like Latin style track. Again, like it not only shows like Dolce's vocal versatility, but also like kind of like Pete Townsend, like he can write like in like lots of different styles. I really like the chorus part like of it, like where like so like you get like this sort of like this call and response sort of thing, like Pete Townsend sort of sings like "She Rocked My World," and then like Dolce like replies to it. Again, I just think it's quite a nice like chilled out song like to close off the album. So I would give that one a 7 out of 10 as well. Okay, so overall this album would score 79%, so I think this is a very good album here. I think what makes it good is the tunes. They're memorable, unlike many of like the other later Who albums like Endless Wire and Face Dances and what's the other one, It's Hard, quite forgettable albums. This one here, like a lot of the songs, like even after only a few listens, do get stuck in your head. Again, I think the production really works on it, it sort of fits the songs, like, but it's not predictable like or stale. Instead, it's kind of interesting like and considered, and like I'm not sure how long they'd actually spent like working on this. Like I mean, like although it has been like say like so like what is like 13 years like since like the last album, like certainly I think like they only started work on this at the start of 2019, like so it's only been like a few months work, but it's certainly paid off. Like it's certainly like a well considered album like this one here, like a lot of like nice touches like on it, and like yeah, like I'd say it's a lot better than I was expecting it to be. Like I kind of wasn't too excited like about this one like I was with say like Paul McCartney's like latest album like from last year, like for instance, like, but certainly like I'd say that for what could be their last album, like most likely this is a great way to end their career on. So yeah, the Who fantastic record here. I would urge like anyone like you, even like if like you're not a fan like of like their like later albums, definitely like give this album a try. Like it's well worth a listen. So yeah, that's been my review of the Who. I hope you have enjoyed, and I will see you all next time for the next video. Goodbye.
We raised some hell and I can still call. Who was that girl pressed up against the wall?